Thank you for coming. Okay, so I'm Phil Park. I'm a partner with Equal Experts. We're a network of practitioners in delivering software, basically. Today, when I actually talk about EE, as we tend to get called, I'm actually talking about Equal Experts and Robots and Pencils, who are our sister company based in North America and Canada, who we're working with to build Xinja. So together, we build all sorts of bespoke software, but one area that we do quite a lot of work in, which I think is pretty relevant to the crowd here today, is mobiles. I thought I'd very quickly just tell you about a couple of the mobile things that we do. WestJet is an example. They flew 22 million people in 2016. We built their app, and it was one of the first to deliver something into production for the Apple Watch. Chatter.ai, which is, and this is difficult with jet lag, it is a conversational analytics assistant utilizing using computational, see, it really is difficult with jet lag. Computational language and machine learning, there you go. Okay, right. We also do work for some of the big retailers, as mentioned, and O2, who are one of the biggest mobile companies in the UK, and we do their whole priority platform, which is 2.5 million regular users. But today, we're here to talk about Xinja. So I'm going to introduce Van Lee, who's one of the co-founders and their Customer Innovation Director.
Okay. Thanks for being here, everyone. I might just start with a quick question. Hands up if you like money. Love money, even. Okay, keep your hands up. So of all of you who do love money, keep your hands up if you love banking. Keep your hands up if you love your bank. And keep your hands up still if you feel your bank loves you. So what we're doing with Xinja is building Australia's first independent as in we are not backed by any of the other Australian banks. We have not sought funding from them or accepted funding from any of the other major banks. 100% digital, branchless, paperless, not necessarily peopleless, which you'll hear about very soon, and designed to work entirely from your mobile device. Many people have asked us the question, if I can get the next slide, how are you different from a UBank or an ING Direct? And how are you different from just being a banking app on top of online banking? So this is where neobanks differentiate from traditional banking models, most of which are legacy banking systems, many of which were built in the 80s but still in operation today, that have been shoved and force-fed and had head squashed to try and fit into this mobile digital world. What we're doing is building it digital from the ground up for people who want to be able to do it all from their mobile devices in a matter of minutes. It's about an entirely new banking experience, not just a digital face on a legacy set of products and systems. Now, the neobank movement has been going gangbusters around the world. Europe, the UK, the US, we're even seeing it in Hong Kong and China. And what we're looking to do with Xinja is to bring some of those experiences here in Australia, learning from our sister neobanks in other parts of the world, but adding a little bit of our own Australian magic. For those of you who know of Monzo in the UK, you might be interested to know that one of Monzo's co-founders is also on the board of Xinja. So what does this new banking experience look like? The first piece is that it's a bank designed to work for you. And this is where we want to move away from the distinction between having a bank and having a banker. We're talking about not having to worry about whether you've missed your bills, not having to worry about how much money you actually really have at any point in time, being able to see where your money goes, being able to command your money to automatically save itself every week or every month. A number of things that people do manually today, which we've had the technology to automate and personalize for years and years, and now we're finally going to put it inside an app. Now, why does banking and finance have to be so dull, boring, inane? Why does it have to take spreadsheets? So one of the questions we asked is there any good reason why we can't make this fun? Why can't we make the simple things gamified? Why can't we take things as boring as going on a diet or doing your banking or doing paperwork as interesting as checking your Facebook posts, as interesting as they might be, depending on your friends. And why can't we create a win-win model where banks only win when their customers win, as opposed to a world where a bank only makes profit at the expense of its customers? And why can't we extend this win-win culture to everyone we work with, our partners, our suppliers, our people? It's time for a whole new model in how we do business, how people interact, and money's at the heart of all of that. And what's also different about how we're building this bank is we haven't taken everything that we know about banking and then shoved it into a banking app. We're going right back to grassroots, talking to people, cab drivers, Uber drivers, random people I meet at the bar, and asking what they really think about money and banking and what it should look like. You know, if life wasn't all about money, where do we really want it to be, and what's the role that we really want money and banking to play in our lives? So we've gone back to our customers to tell us, what kind of bank do you want? What do you want a bank to be able to do for you? And that's how we're building Xinja.
So I'm going to introduce a little bit just about how Xinja and Equal Experts came to get together. So I mentioned at the beginning that Equal Experts is a network, and this is a really important thing to us. It's all of our clients, all of our associates, all of our employees. And as it happens, one of our associates that we worked with for a number of years in the UK, who is actually sat on the front row, is also a founder of Xinja. So he introduced Equal Experts founders to some of the other founders of Xinja when they were over for Agile Australia last year. And they got on like a house on fire. So my bosses asked me what we could do to help Xinja on their journey. So I think it was in August 2016 that I first spoke to Van, and she told us all about what they wanted to do with Xinja, you know, what the values were, why it was such an important thing, and why the Australian banking scene needed this so much. And we were pretty excited. So we wanted to help out what we could. So we agreed free of charge to help build a Flinto prototype. So just something that would make all the ideas a bit more tangible. So we looked at some sort of interesting things like Touch ID and things, how you could categorize payments, conversational interfaces, and all these exciting ideas. And we delivered a prototype that the Xinja team could use for discussing the idea internally, but more importantly for taking out and showing investors. So we got a message back in September 2016 saying, thank you very much, it's really useful. And then we waited. We waited. We waited. We drank some tea, because that's what we do when we're waiting. We waited. We waited. Our Canadian friends drank whatever they drink. And we waited. And then, in May this year, got an email from Eric, who's the CEO of Xinja, saying they'd gone public. And Eric and Van and Verity were on the front page of the AFR. And they'd raised $3 million. Come on, that deserves a round of applause for the Xinja team. Come on.
So while all of this was happening, and whilst our EU friends were thinking we were just sitting on our backsides doing nothing, waiting for money to fall out of the sky, what was really happening was we were starting all of these conversations with customers. We've done over 50 in-depth interviews with people. Some of them we had to beg to talk to us. Some of them voluntarily did so and did not stop talking for the length of a full feature movie. They had that much to say. And we also ran some customer workshops where we had these bigger conversations with customers around what they care about and what they wanted to see. Here's a snapshot of what happened at one of them. I'll share with you some of the things that we've learned. There are probably 6 key themes that came out. The first one is the sense that you can bank with a bank for years, decades even, and still have an experience where you're still asked to provide your details over and over again every time you apply for that new product. That whole sense of, I've been with you for years and you're still asking me for this information, don't you know who I am? Many people have told us that they have no idea really of how much money they have or how much they've spent on. A number of people have said, why do I still need to go into a branch to get things done? Why do I still need to provide things on paper that have been digitized for years now? And what is this ABC Proprietary Limited based somewhere in Brisbane that's showing up on my bank statement? What the hell was that? And then having to Google it and not getting any other answers. The idea that you have to Google answers to something that a bank should be able to automate is one of the things that particularly bugs our tech-savvy millennial customers that we've been talking to. And finally, why does it have to be so hard? Why do banks have to invent these terms like LVRs and debits and credits as opposed to just money in and out? Why does it have to be more complicated than it needs to? And we also heard that people are worried about the future. You know, what if the economy changes? What if something happens to my partner? How long can I go for if any of these events arise, and how do I know that I have enough? So armed with all of these customer insights, we, in our early conversations with EE, shortly after the announcement, Phil and the team, convinced us about the value of meeting face-to-face to start this whole journey together. It was really important to get a sense of our shared values and beliefs and brands, and more importantly, be able to eyeball the people who you're about to put your baby in the hands of.
So yeah, we came over for, I think I was here for 4.5 days in July, which is not really long enough when you're coming all the way from the UK. But we did lots of activities face-to-face. As I say, it was really about getting to know each other and really trying to understand the problem space. So true to our agile roots, we used lots of post-it notes, lots of standing around on whiteboards, and obviously the most important inception activity of all, which is flaming alcohol. So once we went back, we started the first phase of real delivery. So this was just last month now that we started, and we call this traceable. You might have heard the term. There are other terms that are similar, like steel thread, walking skeleton. They all sort of mean similar things. But the whole point really is just to say that we get something very long and thin that works end to end. Yep. So really, this is not about delivering features. It's about driving out a very, very lightweight platform that lets us know that we're actually building on something that works. So in our case, this is the sort of technology stack. So we've decided to do what a lot of people are doing at the moment, and we've decided to go iOS first for this. So we've built an iOS app written in Swift. We've got some back-end services written using Scala and Play framework. All of this gets deployed on Amazon, on AWS automatically, and we use AWS both for compute as well as for things like Dynamo, SNS, so using the other services there as well. And we use Firebase as well, just for providing some of the things like mobile analytics and notifications. But the production stack is really only one part of it. And actually, it's not the most important part of the whole traceable development. The main part is to give us a platform that we can build on and repeatedly deliver. So for us, this means continuous delivery, continuous integration, etc. So it's the actual tooling that we use. And because we've got a distributed team on this project, we try and use as many online tools as we can. So code is in GitHub, and we regularly use pull requests for managing changes, but obviously not long-running branches, because we actually practice continuous integration, which means trunk-based development. We use Circle CI actually, which we're using on this project. In the past, we've used lots of other things, but we found Circle CI is working really well for us. Everything is Dockerized. We use Docker for our production deployments. We also use it so obviously that we've got a good development workstation build that you can get running on very quickly. And we also use it to make sure that when we build the software, it is built in a known controlled environment. So we have Docker containers that we run our build on that outputs Docker containers that get deployed to production. So it all gets a little bit meta. We've also found actually Buddy Build's been really useful for us. So Buddy Build lets us deliver new versions of the app very quickly to different cohorts. So developers get many builds a day, the back-end team gets many builds a day so that they can run through and see things, the testers can see that, and then we can deliver just a weekly build or something to other cohorts. But this actually means that normally, and we'll talk a bit about follow the sun development in a bit, but basically this means that the Xinja team get a new version of the app, on a daily basis. So we really are seeing a continuous delivery approach to that. The other thing that's worth mentioning actually is that we delivered as part of traceability is what we affectionately call stubby for relatively predictable reasons. But stubby is what we call a behavioral stub. And what this means is it means that we can simulate all of the effects of a card and a card processor, but do it in a completely controlled way. So we can use this for exploratory testing. We can say what happens when you send through a really long description from a transaction, or what happens when it's a funny amount and things like that. We can top up of varying amounts and things like that. But we can also use it for staged user research, so we can actually set up particular scenarios with users so that they see specific behaviors. And we can also use it for staged demos. So if we want to show somebody how the app works in a particular way without actually being in a store and going to a merchant, it allows us to do that as well. So the main purpose of this is to really give the traceability is to give a platform that we can actually run experiments on and iterate very quickly. The one thing to say of this approach, though, is that it is slightly nerve-wracking for the client, because in the first week or two, they're not seeing rich features. The features that we deliver.
It's our turn to be waiting and waiting and
Fair
waiting.
point. The features are intentionally very low fidelity. We're not doing the features to wow people. We're doing the features just so that we can see everything running end to end.
And one of the most loved parts, I think, of working with such a globally distributed team is there is always someone in pajamas when you're on these conference calls. So a typical day might start, that's when you have to make sure you turn the video camera off when you're on Google Hangouts. Actually, it's funny, in the first few meetings, everyone had their cameras on, mics on and everything. And then I think by the time we got to the second or third, all the mics were off, all the cameras were off, everyone was just, where they felt most comfortable. So our day might start with, Xinja huddles where, as a business, we're coming together to agree on our priorities and what's the next, feature or capability that we want to build. And then that would get passed on to our team in London, who would start to do the development with the platform itself. And then that would get passed on to our team in Calgary, who would be getting it into the app. And then a few hours later, it would show up as the next version of the prototype that we can then use to test back in Australia the next day. In reality, the only official times that the extended Xinja Equal Experts Robots and Pencils team wasn't working was between Saturday lunchtime and Monday morning. These are some of the tools that were extremely critical to building a bank from scratch. And you can see there we're still big fans of our own Australian-made software development. We've got Slack in there. Gmail is still very popular, hasn't gone out of fashion yet. And the good old Post-it notes. But really the most important tool of all of these would have to be the beers on the right-hand side there. Now, one of the key elements of the Xinja brand, and this is probably what we see as our biggest challenge and also our biggest opportunity, is building trust. How do you convince customers to trust a no-name bank that's come out of nowhere, especially at a time when Australia hasn't had a brand new bank from scratch for decades? And by the same token, how do we trust ourselves and each other to build something that's never been done before here? For us, Equal Experts are not suppliers. Equal Experts are partners, people who share the risk and the reward and the beer and the flaming drinks with us every step of the way. And when it comes to talking about what's our competitive advantage, we talk a lot about hyper-agility. But the one thing that really enables you to move at ridiculous speeds is having a team that you can trust to have your back every step of the way, where you can close your eyes, go to sleep, and just know that things are taken care of. Nothing moves faster than at the speed of trust.
Okay, so what we would have really liked to do today is give you a full demo of the Xinja app, but for commercial reasons we can't give you a full demo today. But partly just so I can embarrass Van, what I can do is just show you. So this was this morning. So we arrived last night. So I saw Van this morning, and I suggested that maybe I should buy Van a coffee. Bear in mind, this is the first time that one of the founders of Xinja has seen a physical card being used with the Xinja app. So all good, all good. Obviously, there is lots more that we would like to show, but I think to do that, you're going to have to get in on the founding Xinjas. So Van's going to tell you a bit more about what's coming next.
So we are very much in heated debates at the moment internally about what's the next coolest feature to build. But here are some of the things that we've already got in mind. With the first product, which we plan to launch early next year, but with alpha and beta versions coming out later this year, we look to have a prepaid debit card in the hands of customers, giving people a different way to spend. And some of the capabilities that we're particularly excited about is the ability to stash money away for specifics, so having a savings account and transaction account all in one, being able to round up your spending or prompt for savings based on rules that you want to set for yourself, getting instant notifications every time money goes in and out of your account and seeing in that very moment exactly how much money you still have. And finally, lots and lots of emojis, because there is just not enough humanization of banking and money out there. And a lot of people have asked me, what the hell would I do with an emoji? You'll see very soon.
And I guess what's next for Equal Experts? Well, we're doing a lot more work in Australia. We've got a stand upstairs, so come along and find out a bit more about what we're doing and tell us a bit about what you're doing. We're always looking to extend the network. But mainly, I guess, it's to keep working with Xinja, you know, do everything that we can to make sure that we develop and deliver an awesome product to Australians who deserve something better from banking. So thank you. You mentioned the event?
Yes. Oh, just one more thing I'd like to add, just in the spirit of building this bank with our customers. Tonight at the Rialto 6 p.m, we actually have our Melbourne Xinja meetup, where we've invited customers who are on our wait list and also others who are just generally interested to come, find out more, be part of the discussion, and tell us what you think about how this should look.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.